Hello world, my name is Anson. Welcome to another edition of the Ghouls and Gains vlog. Last time we began the discussion on how to prepare your home for the initial wave of the outbreak. And on this episode, we're going to also cover some initial supplies you may need when trying to survive that first wave as well. I'm super excited about going through some of these supplies with you. I hope you are as well. Stay tuned. Search anywhere on the internet, you can find a plethora of lists that people have compiled to say that these are the supplies that you need when an outbreak occurs. I'm not going to give you a plethora or a full list of supplies that you're going to need, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 supplies that you're going to want to have and discuss some of the things that maybe you haven't thought about before regarding those supplies. So number 1, it's a no-brainer. You're going to need water. You're going to need a lot of water.
Nailed it.
Because you're going to need water for hydration and hygiene, kind of what we talked about on the last episode. But the thing that you're going to want to consider is how are you replenishing that water supply? Making some type of reservoir that if it rains, that it does refill your water supply. You'll want a good filtration system so that if it is any kind of water that's maybe not rainfall, or maybe if it is rainfall but maybe contaminated, you can filter out some of those bad germs that may be in the water so that you can prevent from getting sick as well. So not only do you want that initial reservoir of water, we talked about filling up your bathtub to have that reservoir of water ready. You also want to think about ahead of time during that initial wave of the outbreak, how am I going to refill that water supply when potentially the city water may get cut off from your house to where you can't refill a bathtub or you can't refill a sink or get your water from any type of faucet. Number 2 is going to be your supply of food. It's understood that you want a good amount of canned food so that you have food that won't go bad after a short period of time. But the other thing you want to think about as well is you need to think about how much canned food you have on reserve. Think about it this way. Each person should have at least 3 cans of food every day. So you're going to also want to multiply that by how many people are in your group. If you have, 2 to 3 people, maybe 5, 10, 15 people, you're going to want to multiply that 3 cans per day by how many people you have.
Well, we're
On top of canned food, you're also going to want to consider gardening. Now, I realize that in that first initial wave of the outbreak, you may not be able to get outside and do, normal gardening. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to look for types of food that you can garden, but can also grow on the inside of your home. Maybe if you put them on a window, or if you make a space that where the sunlight comes into your home or your shelter, they can survive without necessarily being outside. And so going farther than just gardening, you want to make sure that you are also giving yourself a way to garden if you're stuck inside as well. So considering food, you're going to want to, 1, make sure your canned food, you have at least 3 cans per day per person. And you're also going to want to look into gardening, and even more on top of that, gardening that you can do from the inside of your shelter. Number 3 is going to be a first aid kit. Now you may say to yourself, that's a no-brainer.
This is the only first aid that we have? This is for our baby. We might die.
Just like some of the other things that we've discussed. But you also want to consider, not only do you want a first aid kit, but you want to make sure that the medication that you need, or anybody in your family, anybody in your group needs, maybe it's a prescription medicine, that you have a good supply of that as well. Because that first initial wave of the outbreak, you may not be able to get out and get more of that medication. So obviously you're not gonna be able to roll up and just, be a huge drug lord and have all your prescription medicine, but it may be worth having, a couple days or a couple weeks more than you're supposed to have, that if something happens where you can't get out of your home and you can't replenish that supply of medicine, that you're okay for that certain amount of time without running out. So as far as first aid, you want that first aid kit, you want that survival first aid kit, but you also want to make sure that your prescription medicine, you have enough to withstand that first initial wave before you can get out and get more. Number 4, in the event of an outbreak, you're going to want to use a battery powered radio. Cell phone towers are probably going to be down, phone towers are most likely going to be down, so you're going to be able to communicate through shortwave radio. You want to make sure that you have battery powered shortwave radio. If phone lines are down, then it's probably going to be shortly after that the electricity lines are going to be out of commission as well. Utilizing a battery-powered radio to communicate with people around you is going to be super helpful in surviving that first wave. So even more on top of that, not only do you want a battery-powered radio, you also want to be able to plug a pair of headphones into them, because going back to that approach of subtlety that we talked about in our last episode, you don't want to give away your position by people hearing, or potentially zombies hearing, radio transmissions coming from your home. We want to make sure that everything's inside your ears, so only you can hear what's going on, and it's not projecting to other people or zombies that you're in your home. Number 5. So number 5 is the last thing that we're going to discuss, and that is going to be a type of waste station for you. And even more importantly, a way to get rid of waste. Because when you are put up in your home, you're withstanding that first wave of the outbreak, then what's going to happen is you're going to be there for a few days. You're obviously going to accrue a pile of waste. You don't want it just sitting there with you, because you will become ill, you will become sick. So you want to make sure that you do have those supplies to clean the area, maybe a composting situation, or simply just some kind of bleach to where you can clean the area that you have been disposing of your waste. So these are some supplies you may want to utilize and have at your access in that first initial wave as you're hunkered down in your sanctuary or your home. I hope these were helpful. Next time we are discussing some of the weapons you may need in that first initial wave of the outbreak, as well as potentially on the run. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, share this video if you found it helpful. Go follow us on social media at Ghouls and Gains. Check us out at ghoulsandgains.com to see more about who we are and what we're about. And as always, how will you train for the outbreak?